Johnson. They call me Napalm, and this is episode number 55 of This Week in Grip. This is a special Wednesday recording of This Week in Grip, and my guest today is Eric Rusin, and he approached me and he said, "Now listen here, pal, this is what I think we ought to do." And he suggested that we sit down and talk about the upcoming North American Grip Sport Championship on June 2nd, and I said, that sounds like a pretty darn good idea. So, Eric, thanks for bringing that up. I thought it was awesome. Let's get right into it, dude. What do you say?
Sounds awesome.
All right, man. Well, before we get into it too deep, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself so everybody gets a little bit more familiar with you if they're not already?
Sure. My name is Eric Rusin. I've been competing in grip a little over 7 years. I basically started the organized sport here in Canada. I live in Ottawa. I run about 4 or 5 contests a year in Ottawa, and I maintain the CanadaGripSport.com website. So just trying to work with the people up here in Canada and promote growing the sport. So we have Jason Steves out west. We have Rob McMurrin in Waterloo. And now we have Al Heineman out in Vancouver. So we have 4 active promoters now in Canada, and it's continuing to grow. So lots of good stuff. And personally, I compete all over the U.S. I've been to Russia a couple times, and this will be my fifth NAGS contest.
Cool, man. Awesome. And Eric is an outstanding grip athlete. In addition to an arm wrestling competitor as well. Why don't you throw some highlights at us about your arm wrestling background also?
Yeah, so
I think people are getting more and more familiar with arm wrestling too.
Yeah, so I've been arm wrestling since 1996. So that's really the sport that I've been doing my whole adult life, and I've had a lot of success in that. I won the Canadian Nationals. I've placed high in some WAL pro events in the U.S. I won the Southern Classic last year. So lots of, I think I've won 14 Ontario provincial titles. So that's another it's a sport that goes very well with grip because a strong hand will always help you in arm wrestling. So I'm trying to juggle both. I compete in about 4 or 5 arm wrestling tournaments in a year and probably 7 or 8 grip contests. So it's keeps me busy.
Yeah, man, for sure. You're always on the road hitting up contests. And I respect that a lot because that takes a lot of time and resources. You got to balance your training so much. I can't even imagine doing 2 sports anymore. There was a time where I did strongman and grip, and that was tough enough. So I can't imagine. When I did strongman, I wasn't in the upper echelons of strongman when I did it. So I can't imagine maintaining that level of expertise in 2 different sports. I guess a good thing then that they're quite similar because there's quite a bit of crossover there. But still, they're 2 diverse sports.
I think so. It's hard to compete, as often as I do, and sort of you can't peak for every single event. So I'm doing my best to concentrate and peak for the ones that are most important to me. Yeah,
sure. And Eric was at the arm lifting championship that was in Philadelphia on April 28th, 29th here this year as well, and he and I went at it over the course of 2 days. So he definitely, Eric, you travel probably more than anybody that I can think of, just grip alone. So throw on the arm wrestling as well, and you're definitely racking up the frequent flyer miles.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to be able to travel a lot with the past couple of years. So hopefully I'll be able to keep doing it.
Yeah, cool, man. So why don't we go ahead? Well, let's just talk about the contest specifics and what exactly we got going on, because I know that there's new listeners all the time, every time we put out a show. So what we are looking at is on June 2nd in Elmira, New York. It is the North American Grip Sport Championship, which North American Grip Sport was the name of the organization that Eric and I both sit on, along with Brian Hunsacker, Alan Hynek. Let's see if I can get all the names. Florian Kellersman, Eirik, Brune Eriks, and Jebertson, and I think there's one more. Who am I missing?
Did you mention Andrew Pankey?
Andrew Pankey. There you go. Thank you. So it was called North American Grip Sport for several years, and we've just taken on new members to make it more encompassing of worldwide grip competition. But right now, we are still under that umbrella. You're still looking at something that's a championship for North America. We've had qualifiers. We've had, we have people that send in actual lifts in order to be qualified. So basically, in order to compete at this contest, you need to qualify. So you need to finish in the upper percentages of your weight class in a sanctioned contest, or you can submit video doing certain feats, or you have to reach a certain number on different items. So rolling thunder, Euro pinch, flask, things along those lines. There's a whole list of them, right, Eric? There's probably about 15 different categories. It's all broken down by the different weight classes. And there's some other ways to qualify. For instance, if you break a record in a contest, a certain record of a certain magnitude, if you certify on the number 3 gripper, red nail, things along those lines, you can qualify. So there's many ways to qualify. The only competitors that wouldn't need to qualify this year to compete would be Masters category over 50, and also the women. And currently we have none signed up. So this is not just... Yeah, go ahead.
The only other exception is anyone who competed last year also gets a free pass
great
to
point.
this year.
Great point.
Yeah.
So it's not an invite contest, and it's not just a regional contest where you can just sign up and compete. You've got to meet certain qualifications. So it is rather exclusive. And that's the way that it's been since about 2011. So that's kind of the history of nationals. And it may have been 2010 also. I lose track of the details, but I know in 2011 you had to qualify. We have currently 18 people signed up. 17, I'm sorry, because Mike Rinderly will be pulling double duty, competing in not only the 120 kilo open class, but also the over 50 masters class. Anything else to cover as far as qualifications for competing at nationals, Eric? I call it nationals, even though it's actually an entire continent, because actually Mexico could be sending representatives as well. Puerto Rico could be sending representatives, because I guess they're all part of North America, but I guess it's ingrained in my head to say nationals. But is there any other qualification stuff to cover?
Basically, I just want to reiterate that there are qualifications, but anyone who's interested in grip, I would say the qualifications is just that. We want to have people qualified to attend. But if you're interested in grip and you're not yet registered and you'd like to attend, take a look at the 15 or so feats, and most people are able to find 3 that they can do. So not everyone's strong in the same events, but a lot of people are able to find 3 that they can record and qualify with. So I would encourage anyone who's interested in signing up at the last minute, you could still have time to do it. Just take a look at the list.
Absolutely, and you bring up a good point. I mean, it's not like we're not taking any other competitors at this point. You certainly can put in videos to get qualified. There's really no more contests that you can go to at this point, but you could easily submit videos. And what I thought I'd do is I would go through and just run down that list of what the qualifications are, so that people have an idea, because they are quite diverse. There's several different ways that you can, or several different implements that you can use. So this is the the qualification list, and I won't go over all the numbers, but basically, if you go to the grip board it's gripboard.com, go to the grip contest section, and find the thread that says NAGS Championship. Let's see here. Why is this being so slow? 1 second. NAGS Championship 2018 events and updates, and the first post I've got links to several other important posts, and one of them is the qualifications list. So this was last updated in 2016. We made it, we spread it out a little bit differently so that it was, I guess, a bit more fair for some of the lighter people, and then more challenging for some of the upper weight classes as well. So if we go down to qualification chance 2, here's a list of what you can look at in order to qualify. We have a gripper close with a parallel or 20 millimeter block set, and for instance, the 83 kilo class would need to close a 140 pound gripper. Now, what that means is the gripper needs to be rated at 140 pounds or heavier. So you're looking at like a beef builder, maybe a supermaster, definitely a grandmaster would be in that range. Some number 3s might be in that range, but there's lots of different grippers that would fall in that range. So when you see that number, it's not like the heavy grip's 150. That's not going to get it for you because that gripper doesn't rate 150 on the RGC system. So there's a host of different other things here. There's Euro 2-hands pinch, which is the adjustable pinch apparatus. And just looking at the 83 kilos again, that's 180 pounds. It's 180 pounds for 2-hand pinch on a flask. If you go for an Ironmine axle deadlift, that's with 2 hands. The 83 kilo class would need 300 pounds. On a 2-inch FBBC vertical bar, the 83 kilo class would need 210 pounds. On the Euro 1-hand pinch, the 83 kilo class would need 75 pounds. And the same weight on the flask, 75 pounds. On a one-handed Ironmine axle deadlift, it's 150 pounds. For plate pinching with one hand, that's 235s pinch, smooth sides out for the 83 kilo class. Hub lift would be a 35-pound plate by the hub. Rolling thunder, it would be 160 pounds for the 83 kilo class. 2.5-inch crusher, you're looking at 150 pounds at the 83 kilo class. You can do a sledge deadlift to an 18-inch platform of an 8-pound sledge for the 83 kilo class. You can do a face lever of a 12-pounder with your hand at the bottom of the handle, which is the hammer starts vertical. You lower it down to your face, your forehead, and then bring it back up. And then also for block weights, for the 83 kilo class, it would be a 42.5-pound hex head or blob in order to get qualified. The reason that I ran down the 83 kilos was because the guy that actually owns the Titan Strength Gym in Elmira, Brad Martin, we're trying to get him qualified this week so that he can compete in the contest. And he happens to be in the 83 kilo class. So hoping that we get him in there. He's already got 2 of them. He was able to do, well, he did the Rolling Thunder, Eric, the 160 when we were up there this past week, and he did the hub lift. But I noticed when I got back that it was really hard to tell on the Rolling Thunder whether he had a legal grip on there. He might have been over a little bit too far. So we're going to have him do it again. But we could end up with at least one more competitor in Brad Martin, and he's a longtime friend of mine. I don't know if you remember hearing anything about Brad Martin over the years, Eric. Do you know that name?
Just the name, but I can't place him. Okay.
So if anybody's been following my training for the last, you'd have to be going back like 10 years. I used to train with a whole crew of people in Sayre, Pennsylvania, and Elmira, New York, and Brad was one of them. And he's easily one of the lightest individuals to ever lift the blob. He was always very talented at the strength sports that we did, but he got away from grip for a while, so he's a little bit rusty. But we're trying to knock that rust off, and we'll get him qualified. But those are some of the qualifications that anyone listening could set up in their gym, film, and become qualified right away. Especially anyone within driving distance, I encourage to attend. All right. So here is the qualification list, and what we're going to do, we talked about this before the show, we'll just go down the list and tell everyone a little introduction about each person, some behind-the-scenes info. And I'm going to mainly be the one talking about the North American people. Some of these people I'm sure Eric has never met. But a lot of the Canadian competitors I haven't met. So Eric's going to be doing the talking on those. So anything else before we get started on that, Eric?
No, let's do it.
All right, cool. So we're going to start with the lighter weight classes and work our way up. And currently, I believe there's a 54-kilo class, but there's no one representing that class right now. So we're going to start at 66 kilos. And that is Ace Andrade. So Ace is a youngster. I think he's only 12 years old, but he's actually been competing for at least 3 years. I remember seeing him at a grip contest in 2014, so maybe 4 years that he's been competing. And he's a youngster, and he's got a lot to learn, but he trains with his dad and Don Smitley, and his dad is Chris Andrade, who's in the 74-kilo class. And I'm sure you've met Chris before, right, Eric?
Yes, I have.
Sorry?
I don't know if I'll recognize him, because when I met him, he was much heavier.
Yes. Yeah. He used to be in the 120-kilo class, and now he's in the 74. Right. So, yes, he's done a lot of work the last couple of years. It's been a long road, but every time I see him, he's a little bit lighter. He's been chipping away, whittling away, and now he's in the 74-kilo class. I don't know, as far as Ace is concerned, about any specific numbers that he's hit, or if he's held any weight class records or anything like that. You familiar with that information off the top of your head, Eric?
I'm not, no.
No. Okay. So there's the first competitor, Ace, and he was here in February, and he actually threw down with a couple of lifters from my gym, Aaron Carr and Aiden Hunsinger, and they all had a great time, had good performances, and got along real well. It was really nice to watch. The other competitor in the 66-kilo class is Nigel Blackburn. Are you familiar with him, Eric?
No, I noticed that he'd signed up, but I haven't met him yet. Right.
Okay. So cool. So I think this guy's going to open some eyes with some of the competitors. He's very, very strong. I don't know his height, but obviously he's light. Being in the 66-kilo class, he's a college student. He's still in college, and he takes his training very seriously. I've been working with him in online training for well over 6 months, and he came to me wanting to tear a deck of cards and maybe close a couple grippers and maybe do a couple other feats. But now he's assembled a really nice collection of grip sport equipment, and he's gunning for some records. He saw some videos go up recently of certain lifts and realized that he was only about 5 pounds away on those lifts, and I know that he's got an itch right now to really put some hurting on some of the events here at Nationals. So I think it's going to be pretty cool once he gets on the platform. This is another guy who, he didn't lose the same amount of weight that Chris Andrade did, but Nigel just took off a bunch of just excess body fat with some just dietary changes, nutritional changes, dropped some body fat, and he's looking really good now. So very athletic build and lots of potential. So I think it's going to be interesting. You'll want to keep an eye on him, Eric.
Awesome.
Next on the list is Chris Andrade. This is one of I would say Chris has become one of my best friends now. I've worked with him in the past in online training capacity. I've done, I don't know how many contests with him. It's probably in the double digits, the number of contests we've done together between just here at my house, Gripmas, South Jersey 4. Where else have we gone? Man, I can't think of any other ones right now, but Chris has been involved in this, and he probably loves grip more than anybody else that I know. I mean, he loves everything, and he's turned like an entire floor of his house into his training facility. Have you seen any of the pictures that he's put up, Eric?
I've seen some pictures over the years, and yeah, I'm jealous. He has some nice stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all in his house. He doesn't have like a garage or anything. He lives in I guess you'd call it maybe a duplex, like a 2-level apartment. And for the longest time, he was on the upper floor. So anytime he got something new or more weights or whatever, he had to climb up the flight of stairs in order to get there. And then one time, I think it was like February of 2016, he invited me up to watch WWE up in his neck of the woods in Connecticut. And he he's got anvils and stuff outside. It's awesome. He's really got a nice facility. He's got a really cool collection of like old time types of grippers, like the kinds that look like a dumbbell, but you squeeze like the two halves together, almost like a clamshell with springs in between. He's got a lot of cool stuff. He's up there in Connecticut. Of course, Ace is in Connecticut. That's his son. And I failed to mention that Nigel is going to be flying in from Florida. So as far as my memory serves, I think he's going to be the first person from Florida that's ever competed at the NAGS championship. Can you think of anybody else from Florida that's come, Eric?
I don't think so. I think you might be right about that.
Yeah. So, and Nigel set his sights on this contest months and months ago, so we've really been putting in the work. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm always looking forward to seeing what Chris brings to the table. I did see that he put up a post that was pretty short and sweet about his love or lack thereof of grippers on Facebook. It was basically F grippers or something like that. So he and I are in that club in the distaste for grippers. Anything else to mention about Tank? They call him Tank, Chris Andrade.
No, I'm just so impressed by his weight loss. And do you know, has he lost much grip strength, or has that even gone up with the weight loss? Or
I'm sure it's gone up the whole time. Time. I haven't seen any drop in
impressive.
Performance. Yeah, I've never seen a drop in performance from him. I think he's had off days where things just weren't feeling right. And but I don't think
we all have those.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We've all had those. I don't think it is from the weight loss. I think it might have been because of a busy work week, or his rest might have been off, things along those lines. But he's a competitor, man. He's an intense dude, and I've done a couple, at least one car ride with him to Gripmas and back. So that's in Ohio. That's like a 6-hour drive. So it's not fun to drive that far in a car all alone with someone you don't like, and thankfully he and I have always hit it off really well. So it's always a pleasure. So he's the only one right now in a 74-kilo class. So I'm going to reiterate what Eric said a minute ago, and if there's anyone that is somewhere nearby or even far away by and has some frequent flyer miles to use up, please let us know if you have any questions about getting qualified, because I'd love to see Chris have someone to compete against in the 74-kilo category. So let's go to the 83-kilo category, Eric, and we'll talk about one of your Canadian brethren, Dan Fleming.
Yeah, well, Dan, I think a lot of people have heard of Dan by now. He's been competing in grip for a little over 2 years, but in that time, man, he's hit a lot of contests, and he's put up some impressive numbers. He's been SJ4, Southern Squeeze. He's gone to, I think, every single one of my events that I've held in the past 2 years. He went out to Alberta, and he'll be coming down, driving down with me and Justin Major to NAGS in a couple of weeks. This will be his first NAGS championship, and I really look forward to seeing how he'll do.
Yeah.
Another thing I just noticed before coming on, I did a little look into some of his accomplishments. He currently holds every single Canadian 83 kg class record. The only one he doesn't have is the axle, and that's only because he hasn't competed with the axle yet.
Oh, wow. Wow, man. That's like straight-up domination.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to go look at the records for North American Grip Sport, all you need to do is go to gripsport.org, and you can access the top 100 lists. They're listed down at the bottom of every single page. You go to top 100 lists and click on that, and then you have access to a gigantic database that we maintain that has all of our events. You can view you can do the top 100 view. You can sort by weight class. It's got everything there. So you just click on the drop down for event. It default displays the one-hand pinch deadlift for the blockbuster, and then you can click that and you can slide it down. And I don't know, man, there's probably 50 different lists or so on there, at least 30. And you can cycle down through there and you can see, if you know how much you lift on the blockbuster, then run the query for that lift, and you can see where you might stand if you were in competition on the blockbuster right now. So you might not realize how good you're doing in your training until you look at this. So what else, Eric? That was a really impressive tidbit about Dan Fleming. What else about him?
I mean, he's just a very, very well balanced grip guy. He doesn't really have many weaknesses. I'd say his biggest strengths are like one-hand pinch type events.
Yeah, man, he's scary on those one-hand pinch events.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even look like, when he's lifting, it doesn't even look like he's putting that much effort forth. Like he literally reaches down and clamps on it, and the weight just comes up. Yeah.
He's also has a bit of a climbing background. So these climbers, I tell you, they're the crossover to grip seems to be an easy one and he's also dabbled in a bit of arm wrestling as well. So he definitely has a strong pair of mitts on him, and I really look forward to seeing. Luckily, he'll be on my team. I know we're going to be talking about the team event, but he'll be part of my team at the NAGS Championship. So looking forward to seeing what he can do.
That's very cool. Very cool. And he's not bad at the scope game either. He'll drop a scope every so often. So I'm looking forward to keeping score in that against him. And naturally, I'm looking forward to see what numbers he puts up. Have you heard anything about his training recently for NAGS? Every video I see of him is a new PR, so I have to assume it's going well. I know he's resting up this week. He's in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic, so he's taking it easy this week. But as far as I know, his training has been going well. He came out to Canadian Nationals just 2 or 3 months ago, and he did very well there. So I assume he'll do well in 2 weeks. Now, that's an interesting deload method, by the way, just before a competition, going overseas to another country and lounging on the beach for several days. I'm not sure I've ever heard of that approach before. The other guy that he's going to be going against is Vincent Rivalese, is the way I would pronounce that name. Are you familiar with Vincent?
Just from the grip board.
Okay. What have you seen out of him? I know, I believe he trains with the group of guys such as Ches and then Anton and several of the other New Jersey and New York City area guys. What do you know about him?
I don't know. He clearly is enjoying his. I think he just came on the grip board over the past few months, but he seems to really be enjoying the whole group community. I know that he's been. I think he posted that he closed. Maybe it was a 3 or an easy 3, or an. I think recently he had good success with his gripper closes. So that's great, especially at the lower weights. I think I'm always impressed by it. I hear anyone who closes a number 3 who's at that weight.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in the rest of the events.
Yeah, even if it's a light 3, I mean, you're still looking at a gripper that's probably around 140. So
right.
And he's in the 83 kilo class. That's right where he would need to be in order to qualify using that category. So, yeah, for sure. I've messaged with him a few times, and I think the first thing I can tell a person seems serious to me when they start looking for the equipment that is being used in the competition. And
right.
The first interaction that I had with him was he was bouncing around the idea of picking up a napalm pinch, adjustable pinch device from me. So I was like, ooh, who the heck is this guy? Because, that's kind of how it starts. It's tough to excel at the competition without having something that's at least close to the implements being used in the comp. So he was right on that.
Cool.
Yeah, he's got some good activity on the grip board, I see. When you click on someone's name, you can see their recent posts, and it looks like that he posts a decent amount. So looks like he's quite active there. Anything else about the 83 kilo guys, Dan Fleming and Vincent Rivalese?
No, I just hope, someone else decides to sign up. It's always nice to have at least 3 in a class. So, if you're listening and you're in that weight class, sign up.
That's right. So now we'll bump up to the 93 kilo class, and I know all 3 of these guys really well. We have Eric himself, and he's going to be in the 93 kilo class along with Matt Lane and Luke Raymond. Luke is the guy that you see training at my place all the time. I know him from years back because he is a local guy, but I got close with him when he was doing the therapy on me when I got thoracic outlet syndrome in 2012. So that's how I kind of, basically, I talked about grip every time that I went to one of the appointments, and I think I just got in his head so much with that stuff that he just had to check it out. He came up, one of the first things that I showed him was like 410s pinch, which he dominated right away, and then I showed him the inch dumbbell. And I said something like, listen, dude, I don't want you to be disappointed if you don't pick this up, because it took me like a year of training in order to actually be able to pick it up. And he made an attempt. It was rather ugly, and I think that was, but I kind of think that was the taste he needed in order to really, really think about getting involved. That was 2013. I want to say it was April. And I said, hey, dude, I don't know what you're doing in September, 5 months away, but I'm running a competition here, and it's this date, and if you'd like to come, you should come on up. So, again, that was April. The competition was in September, and I'll be damned if he didn't show up the day of the competition to compete. So, no training before that at all. And he showed up and did pretty darn well. And then since then, Luke has accomplished lots of different big numbers, multiple world records on sledge choke and pickaxe. Extremely strong wrists on this guy. He's also an arm wrestler and won the amateur nationals in his weight class there. He was national champion in 2014. I don't think he's picked up a national championship again since, but done several other things. He's curled a 50-pound blob with his back against the wall, which might be the most elite thing he's done. That really could be, because most people can't curl the blob, let alone lean against the wall with it. And he was able to do it the first workout he tried. He was able to, I believe, just curl the blob the first workout he tried to do it, and then proceeded to go against the wall and curl it as well. So extremely strong wrists on him. He's always done well at the wrist roller events, the levering events, all those things along those lines. His wrists are just very strong. I'm told that he would purposely abstain from drinking after beer league softball games because everybody wanted to arm wrestle him, and he always wanted to win. So he's got quite the history there. I don't know if we talked about it when you gave your intro, Eric. You're also in the 93 kilo class going up against Luke. What are some of the records that you might have held in grip sport, or some of the major feats that you're most either proud of or well known for?
Well, my best is anything thick bar. So, I think I currently hold the 93 kg class record for the axle.
Mm-hmm.
Rolling Thunder, I've lifted 242 in competition. Almost locked out 250 when I weighed 200 pounds. So I was really happy about almost getting 250.
Yeah.
I think I just broke the Country Crush world record in Philadelphia for the 93 for the 200 pound class.
Yes.
So thick bar is really where is my specialty, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get everything else, keep everything balanced as much as possible, but thick bar is where I've won most of my awards.
Well, and I'll tell you, Eric, I got to compliment you too, because you really impressed me with your performance on the Silver Bullet. I was not expecting you to put up the number that you did with the 3.5 gripper. That really made me stand up and take notice when you did that. So whatever you're doing seems to be working very well. And I mean, there is nothing to sneeze at with your hub and your blockbuster lifts as well. So obviously your pinching program that you're on is paying off, and in order to just utilize some, I don't know if that's consonants or alliteration with all the P's at the beginning of the words, but I wanted to throw those out there. So
thanks a lot.
Yeah, things are looking real good for you.
Something I want to mention about Luke is that I first gripped up arm wrestling with Luke after I think it was the 2014 NAGS.
Yes, I remember
set up
that. Yes.
And he impressed me so. His hook strength,
yes,
it was so strong. I was so impressed. I would say I've actually arm wrestled him in his first. I think that was the first time he had actually gripped up with an arm wrestler against me, and he also pulled Robert Miller that day. So I think that was the first time he actually arm wrestled arm wrestlers. Mm-hmm. And I also arm wrestled Rob Vigent at Rob Vigent's very first arm wrestling tournament. Mm-hmm. And I felt them both. I'm stronger now than I was when I pulled Rob. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, Lucas's hook strength was superior to Rob's when they both started. And look where Rob is now in arm wrestling. He's a monster. So I'm just saying that Luke Raymond, he's like me. He's doing both sports, but his potential in arm wrestling is very, very, very high.
That's cool. I think you may have said something like that that day about how you were impressed. I don't recall you comparing it to Rob, but that's very, very cool. That's interesting.
It took me about a year, because after that I was like, you got to hit an arm wrestling tournament, and it took him. I think it took him about he hesitated for I think over a year. Anyway, he finally made it out to one, and now clearly it's gone well for him, because like you said, he won the WAL national championships, which was not an easy thing to do. So hats off to him. Yeah,
for sure. The other gentleman that is in the 93 kilo class is Matt Lane. I'm not sure if you've ever met Matt Lane, Eric.
I have not. No.
Okay. He was not involved in 2013 because you came down to that competition that I was talking about earlier, where it was Luke's first grip competition. I think Matt got involved the following winter, or maybe 2 winters afterwards. But Matt Lane is also a client of mine in my virtual training program, and this guy, he exploded between his first competition and the competition that he came to this year, the hands-on grip games that we held in February. I could not believe how much he improved. It was amazing. The thing that most impressed me was his numbers on the Euro pinch after not actually training on the Euro pinch. So he trains on just a set of 45s with a pipe. And I'm not even sure that he has collars to really tighten that setup up. I think it's like a loose setup. And anybody that's really trained on a loose setup or a tight setup knows that a tight setup really helps you out big time. You can probably pull at least 10, maybe even 20 more pounds on a tight setup versus a loose one. And he's doing a loose setup with 45s. So I know that the width that he's using on the pinch with those 45s is well outside his optimal range. He came up there and showed me some lifts that I couldn't even believe at that contest. It was awesome. So I'm really looking forward to it, because now we've got another March, April, May, another solid 3 months of training that we've put in together, specialized for this contest, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's always good. I'm a total coach and promoter at this competition this year. I'm not competing. I'm kind of going into a semi-retirement phase right now, and I can't wait to see what he does in this competition. His work ethic is amazing. He trains not only grip, but he also trains powerlifting movements, muscle building movements. You know, he's doing shrugs and curls. He's doing deadlifts. We've continued to train axle. His axle has continued to come up the whole time, and I was like, man, you're making so much progress in this. Let's not get away from it. So we've continued that. His deadlifts are going up. His pressing movements are going up. So he's strong. He also usually does one strongman contest a year. So it's going to be cool. It's going to be really cool to watch and just absorb everything. I'm looking forward to seeing how everybody does. As far as feats, I know that he can pinch 235s. He's done a half 90 York blob and things along those lines. And sometimes it's one of those things where if I could actually spend some time with him personally, I think that we could even make bigger leaps and bounds just to do some live adjustments with him. You know what I mean, Eric? Like sometimes when you're trying to tell something to somebody, it doesn't always translate well over a phone line, or even when he shoots a video, we critique the video together afterwards, and it just doesn't compare to when you're standing right there with the person and they're putting their hands on the Euro, or they're trying to lift the blob, or they're trying to set the gripper. So I think he's got a lot of potential, and I hope he continues to compete for many years. And he's actually a fairly local guy too. He's from like the Wilkes-Barre, Clark Summit area of Pennsylvania. So it's only about a 45-minute, hour and 15-minute drive, depending on where exactly he's at down there. But we haven't had that happen just yet. He's got a very busy work schedule, and they just welcomed a baby into their family. So he's been busy. And the first time he came up, he actually brought his brother and a good friend with him, and I'm not sure that those guys are as heavily involved anymore in the training with him. They definitely haven't come back to a contest yet, but it's just cool to see people improve over the years. That's another nice thing about grip sport. Any questions on Matt or anything? You want a scouting report beyond that, Eric, or what do you think?
No, I'm just looking forward to meeting him.
Yeah, for sure. We've been putting a lot of work on the medley, so I'm looking forward to see him do that. And he has really attacked the wrist roller. So we did not, between Matt and Nigel, we did not stay away from the wrist roller. They've been attacking that hard in training. Cool. Anything else on the 93 kilo class, Eric? Any thoughts?
Nothing. It's all of these classes are interesting because most competitors have different strengths, so it's going to be interesting to see how things balance out, how things go in the medley and the wrist roller. I mean, you know, it's exciting that the wrist roller and the medley are the two last events, because those are the events where I think are less predictable. You know, I sort of have definitely for Luke, I have an idea of I sort of have an idea of what he'll be able to do on the first three events. But the next two, who knows? I suck at the wrist roller. Based on my experience, I do not do well on the wrist roller. So I prefer the setup of this year, so maybe that'll help. But it's going to be exciting. I think a lot of these classes will be decided in the last last couple of events. So
yeah, I think there's a lot of
good.
potential for that to happen. We can just run through the events real quick. It's 20 millimeter grippers, and then Euro pinch, 4 attempts for a max weight, and then it's Napalm's Nightmare with the 2 3/8 inch handles for the first 3 events. Then we have a medley where we have a 90-second time limit, and there's 12 categories of challenges with 4 levels within each category. So you've got 4 different blobs you can try to lift. You got 4 different Rolling Thunder lifts that you can try, weights that you can try, and there's hammer challenges. There's all kinds of different things. Pretty cool medley, and there's some things in there that aren't always in medleys, but at the same time, I thought they were things that people could train for in their gym. For instance, there's a claw lift. The inverted dumbbell lift is going to be in the medley. So those are always exciting for me. Those are probably my favorite events and contests are the medleys. But like you said, it's a good thing that these 2 events are last in the competition because some people are going to be pretty worn out afterwards.
Yeah, definitely after the wrist roller.
Yeah. All right, so now we're on the 105 kilo class, and up until this week, we had 3 people in the 105 kilo class, but Mike Rinderly has decided that his cut will be no more, and he will be in the 120 kilo class. So for the 105, we have Rob McMurrin and Andrew Dube, which both these gentlemen are from Canada, dude. So why don't you take it away and tell us about Rob and Andrew?
Yeah, they're both from Canada. They're both from the same area, and they train together. So they probably have a good idea of what they each can do in these events. Mm-hmm. Rob has been competing in grip a little over 3 years. He's won the Canadian Championships three times in the heavyweight class, and he also won last year's Cross Canada contest in the heavyweight class. And I consider him to be a very balanced competitor. I feel that he doesn't really have any weaknesses. I have struggled to name any event that I think he's not, any poor event. So mm-hmm. He's I think he has potential to do very well in Elmira. Andrew has been competing a little over a year. He's placed top 3 at Canadian Nationals. He maintains a training log on the grip board. I don't know if you've seen it, but it looks like he's been making consistent gains. Just this week, I think he closed a 155 gripper.
Oh, fantastic! Great peaking.
So things appear to be going well for him. He does a lot of other types of. He does kettlebell. I think he does clubs, train with clubs. So he does a lot of different various training. But he's definitely all into grip, and he's quite an innovator. As you've seen, he's come up with some unique devices for like the Dube Cube, which I think is a pretty cool little device. So I assume that they sort of know where they stand, but with this lineup of events, who knows? I would think just from history, I would think that Rob would have the slight edge, but given Andrew's progress, who knows? Maybe it'll be a very close contest.
Now, one question I have, I can't quite seem to remember, with Rob, what is his background of training? Where did he come from before he got into grip? Was he also an arm wrestler?
No, he's never competed in arm wrestling. He likes classic strongman, like he likes card tearing and I believe nail bending, and I don't know if he's competed in other things. He coaches university football, so that's what he does. That's why he's definitely involved in the strength world. But I don't know exactly what his training background is. He's just, in my opinion, just an overall very strong guy. He's clearly lifted weights, I would guess, his whole life. But to be honest, I'm not exactly sure. Okay.
And then the other question I had about both these guys is, with them being in the 105 kilo class, I thought that Rob was actually heavier than that. Has he cut down for this, or has he trimmed down over time? And then what about Andrew with that?
Over the past year, Rob, I think he lost over 30 pounds, 35 pounds, because he competed in the 105. 105 class at Canadian Nationals just 2.5 months ago. So really it was in 2017 that he lost a lot of weight. It doesn't seem to have affected his strength. So, yeah, he's come down in weight. Andrew, I think he's gone up a bit in weight. I think he competed at Canadian Nationals last year in the 93 kg, and he was a bit heavier this year. So I don't know exactly where he's at, but I think I don't think he's quite 105. I don't think either of them have to cut to make this weight. Mm-hmm. I think they walk around close to 100, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, all right, yeah, because it seemed like Rob was bigger. It almost seems like I think he came to Gripmas one year. Do you know that? Would he have gone to Gripmas one year?
I don't know if he's gone to Gripmas. He's gone to he went to SJ4 this year. Well, Andrew as well. He's gone to a few of Andrew Pankey's events. I know he's been to NAGS in 2015.
Okay, that's what it was. I knew I had seen him at a competition. That's what it was.
Okay.
That's exactly what it was, buddy. Yep, for sure. Sorry?
He was probably I'm guessing he was probably 265, 270 at that time.
Yeah, he was much bigger. And in the videos that I've seen him now, I haven't seen him in person in a while. I guess I would have, but I could tell that he trimmed down quite a bit. So
yeah,
cool. Yeah, both those guys are great guys. I've met them both. Andrew, the first time I met him, I believe, was at SJ4. So yeah, looking forward to that as well. And let's get a third guy in there maybe. One guy I've been trying to get a hold of to compete is Ryan Thomas, who happens to be from the Syracuse area, and he's a big boy. He's a strong guy too. Very good deadlifter and bench press. Works on that real hard. So he would be a good addition to the competition as well. Haven't heard anything back from him as far as committing to the contest, but I'm going to still, shoot him a couple notes. Anything more on the 105 guys?
No, nothing more to add. Well, a guy I'd like to see compete who's not too far from you guys, I've tried to reach out for him, but hasn't responded, is Storm Cellino. He would he would mix things up in that class. So
For sure. That was a joy for me to compete against him in February. He came up to the Grip Games competition, and we even had a little smack talk going on back and forth. So I edged him out, and I made sure he knew about it when I beat him in the curl event, the wrist event of the bench block curl. So, but there ain't no way I'm ever going to enter his backyard in the arm wrestling. It's just all right. So let's skip down to the 120 kilo class. Two more good friends of mine, Mike Rinderly. He's from the D.C. area. And then Joe Sullivan is also from the Syracuse, New York area. These guys I have a long history with. Mike I've known online since maybe 2007, and I think I first met him in 2008 or beginning of 2009. I know he competed here at the, I don't remember what it was called back then. It could have been Global Grip Challenge. It could have been the U.S. Nationals. I'm not sure, but he was here for that competition that I ran in September of 2009 and this is another guy that's right up there and probably my top 10 friends in the world, period. Not just grip guys. I would put him and Chris Andrade right in there in like my top 10 friends. And I've actually put out a couple DVDs with Mike. He was one of the best benders definitely in North America, as well as the whole world, especially for short unbraced steel bending and also horseshoe bending. He was one of the best. And we put out Hammering Horseshoes together. I think that was 2010 or 11. And then shortly after that, we put out a braced bending DVD. And they're some of my best products that I've ever put out. So great guy. And this is a guy who, for years, trained no grip and still would come to contests and finish like top 3. So at some point, he became unemployed and sold all of his stuff, and now he's gradually buying it back and getting things to train on. He's been sending Luke and me lots of lots of videos of his pinch training. He hasn't been training Euro, but he's been training something that would resemble more of a climber's pinch attached to a loading pin. And his primary goal is 200 pounds on the Euro. He's danced around 200 pounds, man, for years and years. He's been right around there. So I think this is going to be the year that he does it. I think he's focused in now on a width that is more maximized for him. So that's going to lead to bigger lifts. I've helped him with some tweaks on his technique, and he went from not being able to break 245s off the ground with one hand to lifting them to lockout with just one slight modification. So, I mean, that can be huge when, especially not just the modification, but the confidence. I think that is probably the biggest thing that he's got going with him now. He's not just gunning for 200 pounds. I think he's confident that he's going to get 200 pounds plus. So it's going to be really cool. The grippers, we're going to have to see. The last time that he competed on grippers, he did really well, but at the same time he was doing a lot of deadlifts, and he's always maintained his gripper strength just by doing really heavy deadlifts 2-3 times a week, both alternated grip like you would use in a powerlifting meet, and then also double overhand grip. So he's really strong in both, and when he was at the top of his performance in those is when his grippers were the heaviest as well, closing some lighter 3.5 grippers. So that's going to be interesting. I don't think he's trained grippers on a regular basis in a while, but we're going to see some good numbers. And he's just brute strong, so I'm sure on the Nightmare he's going to do well. The medley's going to be interesting. I think he brings to the table this year a little bit more, grip cross training, working on several different aspects of grip at the same time versus just specializing in one thing. And then the wrist roller, he beat me on wrist roller in 2011. So I want to say the first year I did wrist roller in a competition was 2010 here in my backyard, and we actually pulled it up a grade. But we used like a 3 or 4 inch wrist roller. So at the time, that was the only wrist roller I had. So that's what we did.
A 4-inch wrist roller.
What's that?
A 4-inch wrist roller.
Yeah, it was probably 3. It was probably 3 inch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still big.
After I said that, I realized how ridiculous that sounded. But it was quite painful. And there's video clips up online of that wrist roller. I had it. I set the highlight reel to music, and I shut it down so that we could hear Zach Coulter say, "Whoa," because he couldn't believe how tough the wrist roller event was. One of the things I remember about that is they couldn't believe that I went twice on it. After I took my attempt, I said, "Well, here, we got to do one more," because I needed more footage of the sled coming up the hill. I wanted to cut that into the person's attempt. So if it was 45 seconds long, I wanted to be able to work some clips of the sled just coming up the hill. So I did it a second time. Whether I did better the second time or not, I can't remember. I wish I did. I think that would make the story even better. But I think I remember Chris Rice telling me, "I can't believe you did that again," because it was quite intense. Now, where does that? So what I was getting at was the next year in Ohio at Chris Rice's gym is where I ran nationals that year in order to try to get more people involved. And Mike came to that, and he beat me bad. He beat me bad on the wrist roller that year. So that was impressive to see. And I think we may have lost Eric, and hopefully he will call back in. But I'll go ahead and talk about Joe Sullivan now. He's also in the 120 kilo class. This is a guy that I guess I first met him through the Diesel Crew website. He picked up some equipment from me, and then shortly after he began making trips up to work out. And I believe it was either right at the end of 2015 or beginning of 2016 when he first came up, and we did a bunch of different stuff. And he's very strong. He's always done a lot of he's always done a lot of Brooks Cubic style training, so thick bar training and lots of heavy lifts. He's got a decent powerlifting background. I think he said he's deadlifted like 700 pounds before, which is huge. I've never come anywhere near that. I've never even gotten 600. And I think he's got some really good genetics. His dad built like a brick house as well, and I think he's going to do well at nationals this year. He's been putting in a lot of work. He competed at the Philly competition with Eric and I, and Joe's done nothing but improve the whole entire time that he's been involved in grip sport. It took a while to get him to compete. Tried to get him to come to a few competitions, and he was a little gun-shy about it, so he didn't sign up right away. But he did finally come this year, put up some good numbers at Grip Games in February, and he came to Philly, did well there, and he was the master of utilizing the time limit in Philadelphia. At the arm lifting competition, we had a 60-second time limit. We could take as many attempts as possible, and he might miss on the first attempt, then he would go back and chalk and come back again, maybe miss again, and then be down to 5 seconds left in the time period, and come back and knock out a good lift. So that was impressive to see.
It was very impressive. I mean, that's happened to me maybe once before that I've been able to do that, but he did it like twice in the same contest. It was really nice to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And not only, it's one thing, so like when I missed once, I kind of like just set it down, walked back, and took some breaths because I can't recover that quick. So I knew that I couldn't do like Joe was doing and go back and chalk and then walk up and take another attempt and go back and chalk and come back again. And he did that a couple different times. So he won't have the luxury of doing that at this contest because we're not running the events that way. But
right.
I think he knows that going in, and he's got the experience now where he knows that he's got to cinch everything in and go for it and not waste attempts. So I think that's going to be a good showdown between Mike and Joe in the 120-kilo class. I edge Mike out with the experience because he's been involved so much longer and been to so many other contests, but Joe Joe hasn't been to a lot of events, but he's been doing a lot of grip training. He's got a lot of implements, and the numbers that he puts up are pretty darn good. So it's going to be interesting to see. Any other things that you want to add about Mike Rinderly and Joe Sullivan in the 120-kilo class, Eric?
No, I look forward. I think that's going to be a tight class, so it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, man, for sure. The 120-plus is filled with, well, it's got 3 people, and 2 of them I don't know anything about. You're going to have to tell us about Tom Bryson and Justin Major, Eric.
Yeah, well, I think you will be impressed by these guys. Tom Bryson, so I met him at one of Ode's contests in Fort Lauderdale just this past October, one of his grip contests. Tom was down there, and he competed in the strongman as well as the grip.
Mm-hmm.
And with no grip training, with no specific grip training, he did very well. I think we tied. It was an open weight class. We tied on a lot of individual lifts, but usually I would get the medal just because I was lighter.
Right.
But he lifted 14 axle. He lifted 217 on the Rolling Thunder. He did a lot of good performances. The only one he struggled was the silver bullet because he really had no idea how to set the gripper. And if you don't know how to set a gripper, well, the silver bullet will be hard, or any gripper event will be hard if you don't know how to set it.
Yeah, for sure.
But since then, he competed in the spring clench, which Jason Steves organized in Alberta this past March.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was over 20 competitors, and he won the overall title. He broke the Canadian axle record. So he's a big, strong guy.
Awesome.
And when I told him about the NAGS championship, he wanted to come. He likes to compete and he likes to travel. So he will be one. I expect he will have a very strong performance in Elmira. Justin, wow, this is Justin is a strength phenom. He's 21 years old, 6'4", 295.
Oof.
He's been arm wrestling. He's been arm wrestling since with us since he was 16, and even at 16, I mean, he was a handful. Now it's not even fun to arm wrestle him.
Wow.
I can't do anything with him right now. But he just won his first Ontario provincial arm wrestling title. He won the Canadian super heavyweight grip title in February. And he came to my house. I said, "You got to come to my house to at least let me show you the medley items so that you can have an idea of what to attempt."
Sure.
And he will. He's going, and he will open some eyes. I'm not gonna spill the beans as to what he was able to do, but he was very, very, very impressive. So I can't wait to see him battle it out with Tom and Ches, which I guess you can tell us a bit about. I know Ches as well, but you probably know him a bit better than I do, so maybe you can tell us about Ches.
Yeah, certainly. So Ches is another New York guy. He's right around New York City, and this guy he has easily become. I mean, I would say he's the strongest gripper guy in the United States. What do you think about that, Eric? Can you think of anyone that's matching him, even close at this point?
I can't think of anyone who's active who's closing 190 something. So
oh my gosh,
yeah, I'd say you're right.
I mean, if you take Paul Knight in his prime, then it's close. But Paul Knight also would weigh, a lot less. Paul Knight would compete in like the 105 kilo class, maybe 93 sometimes.
Right.
So,
right.
But Ches, I mean, we're not talking about in the past. We're talking about now. And Ches seems to be the best. Some of the numbers he's put up recently on grippers are absolutely scary. Doubling and hitting multiple singles of grippers that I've never been able to close, not even one single time on my best day. And Ches is really a success story for coming back from injuries, because from like 2013 to 2015, he battled two serious injuries. He had a really bad ankle condition that was going on for a while, and he could not do any deadlifts, and even had trouble doing just one-hand lifts like Rolling Thunder and stuff like that. Then the instant he came back from that condition, he ended up tearing a biceps on the 2-inch vertical bar. So now he's back. He looks to be stronger than ever. He's definitely bigger than ever. The dude is a house. So he's going to put up some big numbers too. I believe the way he was hinting that because he's in pursuit now for Mash Monster 7 and 8, he has really put a lot more emphasis on grippers than anything else. So he may not be in top form for those other events, the pinch, the nightmare. Medley is probably going to give him some hassles. But who knows? Maybe he'll be able to battle back and do something on the wrist roller that will, negate some of the stuff he's going to lose on 2-hand pinch, for instance. But I think he's going to probably set a world record or come very close on the NAGS grippers. He's just unbelievably strong, big boy, and the other thing he might win while he's up here is some kind of eating competition, because he can put it away. Let me tell you, he can put it away. And he's got experience, so he's gonna have a good idea of how to set up his attempts and the jumps to make. That's very valuable knowledge. So this is going to be another. It could be a barn burner to see the flames go up and the dust fall.
This is the class I'm most excited about. With these three guys, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, man, for sure. It's not going to disappoint. No way. Anything else about the 120 guys?
No.
Cool. We're going to wrap up the competitor discussion here with the age 50 and plus masters category. We've got two guys. I'll talk about Bernie Markosha. Bernie is also from the Syracuse area. He first did a grip contest in March of 2016 when Luke and I ran a grip contest alongside an arm wrestling contest, a WAL contest in up at the Tilted Kilt in Syracuse, and he got a little taste there. And ever since then, man, he and I have written back and forth, and he really likes grip. He likes competing, and I'm looking forward to seeing him. He has zero experience on just about any of these events. He is as raw as they get. So at the same time, I think he realizes it, and he's not in it to come here and dominate or anything like that. I think he just really likes the idea of grip competition, which is awesome. I think that's fantastic. He's signing up
Absolutely.
here. Like you said, there's no qualifications necessary for the 50+. So he's coming in here, and he's just it's a blank slate. He's going to come in here, and he's going to throw down as hard as he can. Tell us about Gus Bush.
So Gus Bush, this guy is he's 69 years old, and he's super strong. I'm so impressed by this man. He began arm wrestling later in life. He started arm wrestling in his late 40s, and that's right when I started. I was 19, and we were in the same weight class. So in the late 90s, we would battle back and forth. Then he took a break from arm wrestling for about 10 or 15 years, and now he's back in it. And he just won the Masters division at the provincial championships just 2 weeks ago. So at 69 years old, he won a provincial title, and he's doing well in grip. I saw a video of him lifting the Blob 50. He's good at he's very good at hub lifts. I think he's lifted 69 on the hub. He's very, very, very impressive. So he's won the Masters division at the Canadian Nationals the past couple of years. He's eager to travel, eager to compete. I think he went to SJ4. He's gone to some of Andrew Pankey's events. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing him compete again.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I can't wait either. And shaking his hand is like shaking hands with a brick. His hand is hard as a rock. It's full of muscle, man. There's nothing that feels like a pad. It feels like you're squeezing a rock when you shake hands with him. And then the third competitor in the 50s is Mike Rinderly, and we've already talked about him. So anything else about the 50+ Masters category, Eric?
I just think this is a great addition. It's the first time where it's being offered at the NAGS Championship, and I think this class will only just continue to grow.
Yes, absolutely, no doubt. I was hoping to see Chris Rice come for this category also, but I haven't heard much from Chris, so he might be tied up with some stuff. What about predictions, Eric? That's actually what we were going to talk about most, and we have talked about at least. What are some predictions that you've come up with for the contest that you'd like to highlight?
I haven't really put so much thought into predictions, to be honest. I'm sure lots of PRs will be set. That's what I predict. Some of these classes, I can tell you who I think might win, but it's really a lot of these classes are too close to call.
Yeah, they're very, very close. A lot of these guys, like you said, in the 105, Rob and Andrew compete together, so that could go back and forth the whole time. It sounds like Justin, Ches, and Tom are going to be knocking heads with one another. I mean, that's basically. I asked Alan what his thoughts were. Alan Hynek, who normally is on the show with us, but he and Ricardo are actually working right now, so they weren't able to join us. And he's saying a lot of the same things that you are. A lot of these are just too close to call right now. And with still a little over a week to go before the competition, it doesn't really make much sense to make predictions as far as placings, because if Gil Goodman, Tanner Merkel, or if Phil comes in, and I can't remember Phil's last name right now.
Phil Koshaba?
Yes, thank you very much.
Koshaba. Yeah,
I mean, you're talking about a lighter individual that has lifted the inch dumbbell. I mean, those three names have tremendous potential as well. Haven't heard much from them recently as far as whether they'll be coming to nationals, but at this point, I mean, there's still time to sign up, so they could shake things up if they decided to come. Tanner is the current overall national champion from 2017,
right,
when it was down to the Southern Squeeze. So, and Phil was there. Also, Gil was there. He helped run it. So, there's 3 names that could shake things up big time, and they're also all in the lighter classes. Some predictions that I already said that I thought Ches was going to produce a tremendous gripper number, and I'm not sure exactly what the current world record is for North American grip sport for grippers. I can look it up real quick while I talk, but yeah, we'll do that right here.
I think it's Andrew Gurniat. I think he got 206.
Yes, it is. It was.
I think.
Yep, it was 93.7 kilos, which is right about what you said, if not exactly. So, yeah, 206. So, the interesting thing is that was a gripper that was closed prior to obtaining the complete set of grippers for NAGS. So, it was, you know, so that was the nice thing about our gripper set that we have is it was everything was rated on the same exact RGC device by Matt Cannon. So, you know, you kind of, we may see a new record for the NAGS set this time, the set of grippers. Whether or not it will register over 206, it's hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure he's going to come in and take over the number 2 spot, which is Tim Struess currently, which he closed a 191 back in 2011. Ches currently sits at 3rd at the 190 mark from earlier this year at the 4 for February competition. So I'm thinking he's going to close probably a 195 at least, and maybe more. I would love to see a 200-pound gripper go down. That would be fantastic. That would be a big highlight, and I think we're going to hear absolute pandemonium from everyone watching the competition if that goes down. If we look at the next event with the Euro, man, the way I see it, man, I think you and Luke are going to be right head-to-head there for the top lift on the Euro. I don't know of anyone else that's going to be close to you unless like Justin or Justin and Tom.
Justin will be in the mix for sure.
Okay, all right. So
Tom, I'm not sure. Sure, but Justin will get a good lift.
Okay, and then what about Rob? What's his background on the two-hand pinch, or what's he doing lately?
I'm pretty sure he's over 200. I don't know exactly where though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking you're going to blow everybody away on the Nightmare. I'm thinking.
You know what? I don't think.
What do you think?
I don't think so. I think
no?
Justin will lift more than me.
Okay.
Tom might also lift. So I think it's going to be either Justin or Tom who's going to have the overall top lift in that event.
Okay. All right. That's interesting.
And is there an official record, or is this the first time it's contested in a contest?
This is the first time for 2 3/8. We did 2 inches at the February contest, and I ran a vote. Some people may not know, but I ran a poll for the size of the grips, and it was very, very close. But 2 3/8 edged out the group on that poll. So that's the story there.
I can tell. My prediction is that clearly a record will be set in this event, but I think the record will be impressive. It'll stand for a while.
Okay, interesting.
That's my prediction.
Yeah, I know that Joe has been he's been knocking on the door and beating around the 360 pound mark. So that's going to be a big lift. That's a good number.
Yeah.
We're gonna see something cool, that's for sure. What do you think about the medley? Do you think Justin has like the all around grip ability to come over top of you in the medley?
I do.
Okay. All right.
I do. I think to be honest, I think Justin's if he performs like he's done just in training, in my opinion, he's the guy. He's the favorite to win the overall.
I see.
That's my prediction. Yeah.
I see. Interesting, man.
Tom's a bit. Tom's also just. I know Tom has the potential as well. I just don't know how well rounded his grip is because he's only competed twice. I don't know what he's been doing in training, but I have seen Justin with the medley items, and it's an impressive sight.
Very cool, very cool. I know that Luke has some very good potential for the medley as well. I think some things are going to be out of his reach. You just don't know what he's going to be able to do on the inch dumbbell. He has lifted an inch dumbbell one time to full lockout. I don't know if he would be able to mix that in there during a full medley, but he's very good on all the other items, so that will be cool to see. And then I'm thinking, not knowing Justin and Tom, I'm thinking Luke would be able to pull it off for the wrist roller, because his wrists are just so strong, and he never tires. He never tires on a wrist roller event. He just blows right through it. So but the whole contest is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see everything go down.
I agree with you that he's going to be there's a very good chance of having the best number on the wrist roller, because he's kicked ass on that event the couple of times I've seen him do it, and yeah. And
he,
a little.
I was just going to say, in training, like even at the end of a full training session where we do something like 3 hours, I still can't even come close to him. So it's just something to watch. He's an animal.
Just a little suggestion I'd throw out there for the competitors is, I think for the medley, it's better to be conservative than aggressive. I mean, I guess you'll do what you have to do to get the points you need, but you only have 90 seconds for 12 different lifts.
Yeah.
If you fail, you don't have much time to recover. So at least my strategy is I'm going for the weights that I know I can lift. If I'm hesitant, I'm only going to do them if I have time. Like I'll do the one that I know I can lift, and I think that's a smarter way to go with a medley, because it's so fast. And if you go for a 5-point lift and you don't get it, and you don't have time to get an easier one, well, that's a lot of lost points left left off the table. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you take 5 seconds on 12 implements, that's a minute right there. We've got a 90-second time limit, so you will have some time for that, but there's not going to be much time for resting. So we'll have multiple chunks of chalk there. There'll be chalk stations, so you can re-chalk if you need to, things like that. But I agree with you. In a time-sensitive medley like this, it's a whole different ball game from, say, a grip miss medley where there's 30 to 40 items inside of 4 minutes. It's just a completely different story. So that's word to the wise right there. Good call. And that about wraps it up, my man. Anything else that you wanna talk about with NAGS before we wrap up the episode today?
No, I'm just looking forward to seeing everyone. I hope some people take the opportunity to sign up at the last minute. It's going to be a fun time. If you've never been to a NAGS championship, it's really, this is the only title that you can get where you can say you won the Nationals of the North American Championship, right? So come on out and compete, and it's a lot of fun. You won't regret it. Yeah, no doubt. And again, if you're in Canada, please reach out to either Eric or one of the competitors that we've talked about. Reach out to them and see how you can get involved in NAGS Championship or grip in general. And then if you're in the United States, feel free to hit me up or any of the other guys that we've talked about today, because we can point you in the right direction. Eric, thanks a lot for suggesting that we cover this. I had a good time doing it. And like I said, I'm looking forward to the contest. I wish you the best, safe travels. Hope everybody gets there with plenty of time to spare. And we did push the start time back to 11 in order to give the guys that are making long hauls into the event, to give them a little bit more time. I know guys like, all the Canadian guys are coming in, I guess, that morning. Rinderly is coming in from D.C. that morning. And other dudes are not planning to stay in a hotel the night before. So we want to give everybody plenty of time to get there and get weighed in, get something to eat, get your hydration status back up there and things like that. So it's going to be an awesome time, and I'll be there as a promoter and a fan. It's going to be awesome.
So, Eric, thanks again, and I'll be seeing you,
Jed.
in a little over a week's time. Everybody make sure to like the video. That's going to help us out big time with the presentation of grip across the platform of YouTube. It is huge, so hit the like right now, the thumbs up, and hope to see everybody there at Nationals with their absolute best game that they're bringing to the table that day. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you at the next episode. Take care.